Who is an enlightened person? Is it someone who leaves everything behind? Someone who meditates 10 hours a day? Someone who never feels anger? Someone who understands life completely? Or could enlightenment be something much simpler? What if enlightened people don't look spiritual at all? What if they look completely ordinary? What if one of the biggest signs of enlightenment is something most people actually ignore? In this video, we will understand why most people never recognize enlightened people, why trying too hard to become spiritual can actually slow growth, why some of the calmest people never talk about spirituality, why suffering reduces when one simple understanding appears. We will also understand the biggest false sign people chase, the quiet, real sign people miss, and one small daily life example that explains enlightenment better than philosophy. And at the end, you may even question your definition completely, because maybe enlightenment is not rare, maybe it is just unnoticed. Let's begin. When you hear the word enlightenment, what image appears in your mind? Maybe someone sitting in deep meditation, maybe someone speaking very deep words, maybe someone who looks extremely calm, someone who seems different from normal people. But let me ask you something honestly. What if enlightenment actually makes a person look less special, not more? Because they are no longer trying to become someone. They are finally comfortable being themselves. And this creates something surprising. They start looking very normal. So normal, people overlook them. We will come back to this point later because this connects directly to the biggest hidden sign of enlightenment. Most people think enlightenment is something you achieve, like success, like reaching a higher level, like becoming mentally superior. But what if enlightenment is not about becoming more, but becoming lighter? What if enlightenment is what remains when unnecessary struggle stops? Let us understand this in a very human way. Two people can live the same life, same job, same pressure, same responsibilities. But one feels constantly heavy, the other feels relatively stable. Why? Is it intelligence? Usually no. Is it luck? Usually no. Often the difference is this. One is fighting reality inside, the other is working with reality. One keeps saying mentally, this should not happen. The other slowly learns, this is happening, not what is the best response. This small mental shift changes suffering into problem solving. And this may be closer to enlightenment than people think. Imagine carrying a heavy bag, 20 kilos, all day, every day. At first it feels painful, then uncomfortable, then exhausting. But after some years, something strange happens. You adapt. You become so used to the weight, you forget how it feels to walk freely. This is what psychological burden looks like. Pressure to succeed, pressure to impress, pressure to be right, pressure to not fail, pressure to not look weak. Most people are not tired from work. They are tired from mental pressure about work. Not tired from relationships, but tired from expectations in relationships. Not tired from life, but tired from fear about life. Now imagine someone tells you, you don't have to carry this mentally. At first, you may not believe it because identity gets attached to struggle. Then slowly you experiment, you drop one pressure, maybe the need to always be right. Suddenly, one conflict becomes easier. You drop the need to impress everyone. Suddenly, social anxiety reduces. You drop comparison. Suddenly, jealousy reduces. Nothing mystical happened. Just weight reduced. Maybe enlightenment is not gaining something divine. Maybe it is dropping something unnecessary. And here is something important. Most people don't even realize what they are carrying. Many people think enlightened people become emotionless. This is completely false. They feel sadness, they feel pain, they feel disappointment. But something very important changes. They don't become trapped in emotions. There is a difference between feeling anger and becoming anger. Let me ask you something very real. Have you ever reacted strongly and later thought that was not necessary? This happens because reaction was faster than awareness. Enlightenment may simply mean awareness becomes faster than reaction. Emotion comes, awareness sees it, reaction becomes optional. This creates emotional maturity, not separation, just understanding. And here is a practical test. If a small criticism can destroy your peace, peace was dependent on approval. If a small failure destroys confidence, confidence was dependent on success. But if both can happen and you remain relatively stable, inner foundation is forming. This is real growth, not outer performance, inner stability. And this leads to a sign most people completely miss. Here is something very surprising. Truly peaceful people rarely try to look peaceful. They don't try to look wise. They don't try to look deep. They don't try to look evolved. Because they are not seeking identity anymore. Ego wants recognition. Peace does not. This is why many enlightened people look extremely ordinary. They may be teachers, drivers, parents, workers, anyone. Because enlightenment is not about lifestyle, it is about inner relationship with life. And here is a powerful question. If you had nothing to prove, how would you behave? Would you argue less? Would you pretend less? Would you relax more? Would you compare less? Maybe you would become more natural. And maybe becoming natural is closer to enlightenment than becoming impressive. Because pretending is heavy, being real is light. Maybe enlightenment is not escaping problems. Maybe it is changing your relationship with problems. Problems still come, uncertainty still comes, loss still comes, but suffering reduces. Why? Because suffering often comes from arguing with reality. Mind says, this should not happen. Reality says it already happened. Fighting facts creates pain. Understanding facts creates direction. Like swimming, if you panic, you sink. If you understand water, you float. Life may not become easier, but resistance becomes less. And this makes experience lighter. Maybe enlightenment is psychological flexibility, the ability to bend without breaking. So, who can be called enlightened? Maybe someone who overthinks less, needs less validation, carries less ego pressure, recovers faster from emotional disturbance, and accepts being human. Not perfect, not superior, not extraordinary, just more free inside. Maybe the biggest sign is this: they stop trying to become someone else and become comfortable being themselves. Maybe enlightenment is not becoming extraordinary. Maybe it is becoming uncomplicated again. Like how we were before fear taught us to pretend. Maybe the journey is not upward. Maybe it is inward. Maybe the question is not who is enlightened. Maybe the real question is what unnecessary suffering can I stop creating? Because maybe enlightenment is not a destination, maybe it is a different way of living daily life. A lighter way, a calmer way, a more honest way. Let me ask you something real. Do you think enlightened people are rare? Or do you think peaceful people just don't try to stand out? I really want you to hear your thinking right below.